Mute yourself. You got background. Thanks.
Awesome. Welcome back, everyone, to a Friday webinar here series that we've been hosting every Friday. For the people joining us live, for the people who watch our recording later on, we appreciate you taking the time. We've got two gentlemen on today, two subject matter experts in the affordable and manufactured housing industry and business. Obviously, Dr. Van hosting your webinar series, and then our special guest, Mr. Chris Nicely, who was able to join us today. We can't thank both of you gentlemen enough. We'll be talking for about probably 20-25 minutes today, and then we'll have a short Q&A session at the end. But cannot thank you gentlemen enough for joining us today. Real quick, Chris, being our special guest, if you don't mind kind of giving the audience maybe a little bit of an intro just on your background, your career that's, spanned multiple decades in the manufactured housing business.
Yeah, I've been in factory-built housing for over 30 years now. 15 of those years I spent with Clayton Homes in senior leadership positions and general management positions. So really learned a lot about the industry, knew a little, not nearly enough when I first joined Clayton back in 1995. So been in the industry quite a while. Since leaving Clayton Homes in 2011, I've been CEO of Next Step Network, which is a national nonprofit that utilizes factory-built housing in providing and assisting other nonprofits in providing affordable housing, affordable, attainable housing, some of which is in San Bernardino, California, which is exciting. And
Awesome.
And then now I am president of manufacturedhomes.com. We're a digital marketing agency, really about websites, SEO, social media posts, videos, lead generation, but it's all focused on combating or attacking this negative stereotype and stigma that manufactured modular housing has. And so it's about education. It's about going on the platform and trying to educate people at what's possible with factory-built housing. And we also assist municipalities, nonprofits, builder developers in understanding factory-built housing, understanding the nuances, what works, what doesn't work in certain applications, and that type of thing. So try to stay busy, try to stay positive, and try to make a difference in housing in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a follow-up question to that before we jump over to Dr. Van here. Over your course of working in this industry for multiple decades, how have you seen that evolution of affordable housing from maybe the early 2000s or 90s to where we are today? I'm just curious, how has that kind of changed, and what's that evolution kind of been like?
I see there's a full spectrum of product in factory-built housing, from low-end camp housing in the oil fields, in the agricultural area, all the way to a very deluxe premium modular multi-story, even multi-family type application for factory-built housing. And factory-built housing can contribute to success in all of those venues, all those sectors of the housing industry. So, that's exciting. We've seen wonderful innovation in the industry, using more robotics, talking about the production itself, bringing the work up to the worker instead of the worker having to bend down to the work, all those kind of material handling. Even AI is being used now for inventory, reorder points, and that type of thing. So quality has increased. The design has changed to much more, as you can see behind me, much more residential looking product, instead of a community or park or that type of thing. So the design has changed as demand has changed. And then we've seen a very strong increase in quality and especially energy efficiency, homes being built to Energy Star code, and also to other advanced energy codes just recently put in place by the EPA and HUD. So we see that not only is it attainable and affordable at the front end for a home buyer, but it's also manageable and sustainable over the long term with lower energy bills and more innovation inside the house that will make it affordable long term for the homeowner.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I think the green aspect of that is something that really sticks out to me and can really help a possible homeowner, someone who might be a homeowner for the first time.
That's exactly right. And there's a dire need in the first-time home buyer sector. So we can talk about that a little bit later as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Van, I want to shift to you real quick. In our conversations, you've referred to Chris as a mentor of yours, a good friend. I think he also assisted you with a couple of the books you've written as well. What's that relationship been like with Chris, and how impactful has that been on your guys' mission there at Proactive?
Yes, great question. And thank you for having me. And hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Chris, it's great to see you again.
As always.
The relationship has been phenomenal. I've learned a lot from Chris when I first got my dealer's license. Even before let me back up. Even before I completed my tests and got my actual license in hand, Chris mentored me. Through LinkedIn, Zooms. Then, I flew down to Texas. We, had breakfast, met with him in person. And he's been just tremendous, especially as it relates to being on stage in panels. Chris nicely moderates, a tremendous amount of panels in the manufactured housing industry. And the very first panel I was on, I can remember, was in Biloxi, Mississippi. And I was sitting along Steve Case, the gentleman who sold Mobile Home University?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, sir. So we had a great time. It's just been a learning experience. Learning more about the industry, what works, what doesn't work, which direction to go, how to approach things. So it's a relationship I'm just super thankful for.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Chris brought up several really positive things that he's seen in the industry, sir. And I know you've hit on a lot of them as well. I've went to conferences, you've brought me around with you, and I've seen the inside of these homes and how modern they look today and how incredible they are. How has that effect had on the operations that you guys have done, the parks that you guys have turned around and stuff like that? I'm curious. All of the green effects that Chris was talking about and just the modernization of the modular homes.
Yeah. So as it relates to the modernization, the curb appeal, the aesthetics is extremely important, and the energy efficiency, and the shelf life. Chris, can you speak to the shelf life that most of these homes? So real quick, for example, when I go into a lot of parks that did not have innovation back then, I see a lot of homes, especially in Nevada and recently in Alabama on a tour that we went to visit a park. Older homes that were from the late 1950s and early 1960s that some of the residents there had put in new windows at some point, and they still were going. So, Chris, are you able to speak to the shelf life and the energy efficiency?
Yeah, one of the misconceptions or misperceptions about manufactured housing, modular housing, is they don't last as long as site built. But in fact, University of Georgia did a study back in 2013 that demonstrated that not only will factory built housing last over 50 years, which is about the time span for site built as well, it will last longer than that. I think the actual number was 52 or 53 years was the expected life expectancy. But listen to what Dr. Van was talking about. He's talking about homes in the 50s and 60s that people are still living in. They're replacing the windows, and those are 75 years old. Yeah. So if maintained like a normal site-built home, it's going to last because the materials are the same. The process is different. That's the only thing that's different. And when you step inside the front door of a factory-built home, you are taken into a total different place than you expected. So in a positive way. So it's yeah.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I think it's a great point. And I think that is a misconception in the industry, is like people think that these homes just become dilapidated and collapse and stuff like that. But really, I think that's due to probably maybe the slumlord operators and stuff like that, not due to the actual modular homes themselves.
Yeah. Well,
Something,
if I could comment on that,
yeah, please.
the stigma and stereotype is really on the industry. The industry back in the 50s and 60s, we're talking about mass production. And this was just about housing for returning vets after World War II and that type of thing. So you see a lot of inexpensively built housing for that market back in those days. And so there's been a lot of advancement in the energy side of it. As you talked about, it's green, very little waste in a manufactured modular housing effort. So, it's that type of realization that you come to really walk away and say, this could be one of the solutions. But the stigma and stereotype is really on the shoulders of the industry itself. And the industry itself is trying to fight that now, bringing manufactured housing on par with site built.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, Chris, kind of a follow-up to that is maybe to the family office out there, the high net worth investor who's looking to invest in a fund like this or something along that lines. What do you think affordable housing has that maybe other asset classes out there doesn't have, or something along that line in the industry? I'm just curious your thoughts.
Yeah, there's manufactured modular housing delivers savings in a couple different ways. Number one, price itself, the method of construction, the process it's built allows the manufacturer to utilize materials in a much more efficient way than site builders. Most of us live in a site built neighborhood. When they build a house in our neighborhood, we see the piles and piles of full dimensional lumber that is thrown away as a part of putting in supports and those type of things. The process itself of manufactured housing is very efficient. So you have less waste, and you have a tighter construction. A 90-degree angle is a 90-degree angle. So that's number one. The cost of building the house, because the labor it's put in and other processes that are streamlined, allows the manufacturer to build it for less cost for a builder developer. The second, and this is a very interesting it's a great asset, is that the homes themselves can be set much faster, so your cost of capital plummets. And this is exciting. For example, there's a community, a neighborhood that I was involved with up in Detroit, that we set 7 houses in 45 days. Wow. And you can imagine the cost of capital, if it's managed properly, if the product is spec'd and delivered properly in sequence, it can be a very rapid, even if it was twice that, 90 days. It's still significantly less, maybe half as much as what a site-built home would take to erect. So your cost of capital is lower. The product is as well built or better than site-built. Waste is very, very low. Energy efficiency is built into factory-built housing. So you have all of these elements that contribute to a lower cost of scaling housing that can be priced 20-30% less than site-built housing for a comparable product.
Yeah, that was a great breakdown. I really was not aware of like several of those things. And 45 days, 7 homes, Chris, that's crazy. I don't know if you see that anywhere else.
I don't think you can. I mean, it's really, it's really one of the great positives of using factory-built housing, and allows a developer or builder to scale, and his cost of capital is much lower as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Van, I'm curious, sir, any kind of thoughts or feedback, from the parks that or communities that you guys have operated and turned around, when it comes to that, just the cost of capital being much lower, the development side of it, moving in new homes that I know you've done several times. Just curious, any thoughts?
As Chris stated, and as Chris stated, the rapid housing is just so very important, and
Yeah.
that's what we focus on in each area. Is that rapid housing? So, for example, in Nevada, at our manufactured home park, we were able to get in, and these were some tight spaces. We had to block traffic, but we were able to get in 9 homes in roughly 60 days tops. And the reason it took so long for people to move in, it was just the inspection portion of it, waiting for it. There was an inspector who was out sick in Orangeburg, the park that we started in. It was just awesome to be able to get there. We got like 22 homes in about 5 to 8 weeks because we had everybody on site. We had the setter, the site was ready. And so we didn't have any issues there. And Chris, you want to speak to just how fast it goes when the site is ready, the pads and utilities are out of sticking out the ground, the water connection, the electric, and all of that.
Yeah, the selection of partners in any project is critical, and so you really want to look for partners that have knowledge and experience in factory-built housing, and that is commensurate with identifying the site, identifying the issues with the site. If the infrastructure is old, making sure infrastructure is updated and approved and inspected prior to the home arriving, making sure that your foundation is in place for that factory-built home. And all of those are contingent on great project management by your construction site partner, and preparation of that site is critical for achieving some of the rapid installations, rapid turnaround time, and those type of things. Once the house arrives, it's going to sit there unless you have the site prepared. So the selection of your construction partners, your subcontractors, is critical in making sure that you can scale and turn the project around from an idea to home ownership as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think an important part of this is the aspect of home ownership, because I think for maybe the possibly middle to lower income person, like home ownership today is extremely challenging for a new homeowner, for anyone. And Dr. Van, when you were bringing me around at a conference with you and showing me some of these new homes that are out there, I want to say, sir, I want to live there. You know what I mean? Like those are beautiful homes. And
Yes.
I know, sir, like, what are your thoughts on that? Like this industry helping first-time homeowners in creating home ownership for almost like the American dream out there. I'm just curious, Dr. Van, any kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So the factory built housing industry makes it absolutely attainable for first time home buyers, and especially people who have previously had generational call it poverty, or just generations of renting, and just the power of one manufactured home. Starting with the whole home ownership change, that it's attainable, it's affordable, it's comparable to site build, if not better, as Chris was saying, especially as it relates to waste, green energy, reduce utility bills. One of the programs that we have in our parks is a rental conversion program through one of our finance companies, that just imagine you live in a place after 9 months with as little as a 600 credit score, that we can apply 9 months of rent to the down payment, and the resident be able to own their own home. And then if they want to work with the office further, we can also help them through one of our real estate networks or realtors, obtain land to place the home on. And thus you have it, they're on the path to home ownership and some generational wealth building. And more importantly, stability.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's incredible. And I think, to the investor out there that's looking for returns, but also helping people build the American dream, almost become first time homeowners through this asset class, it's just not something you see elsewhere. Chris, I'm curious your thoughts on that. Just the ability for the industry to create home ownership and to help first time homeowners. How impactful have you seen that?
Yeah, that's first time homeowners are really one of the sectors that manufactured modular housing can really deliver on the promise. A great example is nationwide median home prices $462,000.
Yeah.
Okay, and only 28% of the households nationwide can afford that. So
Yeah.
you've got 72% of the households that can't afford that type of home. First-time home ownership or first-time home buyers, for example, only accounted for 24% of the new homes that were purchased last year.
Yeah.
That's the lowest percentage of first-time home buyers ever since the data has been collected, ever. So we are building product today as a housing industry that the masses cannot afford. We hear about missing middle, we hear about all these other things. So the challenge is getting homes that people making a living wage, workforce housing, getting a product that they can afford, that will appreciate, and that will build personal wealth. And factory-built housing is certainly one of this. And I don't want to let our egos get out of control. It's not the only way to do it, but it is one of the substantial ways that we can do it and provide housing for more people. And hopefully this the first-time home buyer percentage of new homes purchased will be the low of 24, and we can start building on that and get more people in their homes for the first time. So that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. And I think there's a lot of great points there. One thing I also wanted to follow up with that, Chris, before I go back to you, Dr. Van, and we get ready to wrap up here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. But where do you see the industry heading, Chris, over the next 3, 5, 10 years? Where do you see the demand going, and where do you see the headwind or tailwinds kind of going and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I've recently, probably in the last 3 or 4 weeks, have had made presentations on economic outlook forecasts and that type of thing. And so I've had some recent data analysis on this. And Fannie Mae and the Low Income Housing Coalition, they talk about housing shortage being somewhere between 4 and 7 million. We've all heard that number over and over and over again. We hear that number. The challenge is going to be, so we know the need is there. Okay. We know the need is there. So why aren't people buying? Well, people are afraid as all get out. I was going to use another word, so I didn't want to be bleep, but the people want to own their home, but they're afraid of the marketplace. The rates they are being told are way too high. So even the industry itself is scaring the bejeebies out of buyers. Costs are too high. As we talked about, the median home price is too high for the middle 80 to 120% AMI buyer. And that's what's pushing buyers away. Now, as uncertainty in the economic situation of our country starts to calm down, or if it calms down, we'll see buyers coming back into the marketplace as the rates continue to drop. They dropped yesterday again to, I think, 6.31% or something along those lines. So we see rates coming down a little bit. That'll soften. And so we're seeing a marketplace that's kind of uneasy. It's going to be soft. Housing in general is going to be soft. We see inventory rising, which is a counterintuitive thought. If we have a shortage, why is housing inventory rising? Well, it's because we're asking $600,000 for the low end of the house. So it's ridiculous that we're complaining about housing shortages in a marketplace where all the builder developers want to do is build houses over $500,000, $600,000. So this sweet spot for factory built housing of anywhere from $150,000 to $300,000 is really where we can play and where we can make a difference in infill, in rural development, in all kinds of efforts in that way. So I seriously see the housing market flat and a little bit soft, may go a little bit down, may go a little bit up. The inventory is starting to climb a little bit, but the site builders are responding with promotions and things to drive demand and drive people into factory built housing. We're starting to see a little bit more of that. Interesting enough, permits are going to be down this year in 2025, and yet shipments are going to be manufactured home shipments are going to be basically even or a little bit up from last year. So in a marketplace where site built homes are decreasing, factory built homes are increasing, and that itself is kind of one of those phenomenon you look at and say what's going on. And typically when you see affordability going this way for housing, you see apartment construction going way up. And we saw that in 2024. We saw apartment construction permits for multifamily skyrocket, following the trend over the last 10 years of multifamily increasing in construction. So we see a lot more of that, but there are examples of builder developers. Cook Brothers in Knoxville, Tennessee, have just opened a community or a neighborhood subdivision with 240 homes using all factory built homes from Clayton Homes. They're e-built, which is the highest energy efficient home product that's out there. So we're starting to see small demonstrations of the potential of factory built housing, and those houses will sell for less than $225,000 with land. So you can get a home in a community like Dr. Van does for a lot less than that. So it's an exciting time for the industry. It's an exciting time for housing. We need to wake up as a nation and recognize factory built housing, see where it's going, see what it can do to contribute to our neighborhoods and our cities and around the cities. So it is one of the answers that we need to look to, understand, and utilize to its full potential in the future.
Yeah, I think the tailwinds behind the industry are just undeniable of what we're going to see progress over the next 3, 5, 10 years.
Absolutely.
Dr. Van, before we get ready to close out here, I'm just curious your thoughts on that question, sir. You're on the ground every day in the parks and stuff like that. You see the demand, you hear the phone ringing. What tailwinds do you kind of see on your end? I'm just curious behind the industry and stuff.
I see, excuse me. I see the industry going in a direction of huge demand, considerable demand. We have multifamily also, that we invest in SRO. However, for everyone, and Chris can certainly verify this, I'd say for every one apartment that we have that we post for rent, and we post one manufactured home, the ratio is probably 10 to 1. People just want to have some sense of ownership or rental, or they want to rent a space that feels like home until they can afford it. The other thing is in the industry, I see it going towards, especially in modular, we haven't really hit on that, but modular is really important for infill. So like I'm in Chicagoland, Proactive is in Chicagoland, and we have a lot of infill lot opportunities, and modular will absolutely be a way to go for potential buyers to go in and buy a house 25-30% less than a newly built house maybe down the street. Chris?
Yeah, real quickly, there's a bill right now, or an act, it's called the Road to Housing Act 2025, that will allow HUD code homes to be delivered, installed, and set without the frame underneath of it. So it'll have that. So when that gets passed, and that's exactly the word I want to use, when it gets passed, it's going to change the dynamics for manufactured HUD code housing, and the line between modular and manufactured is going to blur. It's going to allow HUD to go multi-story We're already in a HUD able to do multifamily and duplexes and quadplexes. So we're going to be able to create higher density for housing in general. We being the industry, people that want housing for everyone. We're going to be able to see some really remarkable changes in the way the product looks, is delivered, is set, and then is made available to homeowners and home renters. So I'm sorry to jump in there, but I thought that was
No,
interesting
absolutely.
part.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's great. We've got about 5 quick minutes here for Q&A, and Dr. Van, we were running this on your LinkedIn all week, so I was able to curate a couple of questions from people in your DMs as we were advertising that Chris was coming on and stuff like that. So this is a question. I'm just going to use their first name, but this is a question from John. So a little bit of background. John is a passive investor who's currently in multifamily Class A assets. He's invested for the last decade. He has only ever invested in Class A apartment buildings, but wants to diversify outside of that to other asset classes to invest in. His question is, and Dr. Van, I'm curious, sir, just going to you first here. What do you think are some of the advantages of diversifying just in general from just investing in an asset like multifamily, and then the advantages specifically of like affordable housing and module homes, and what are some things that you think John should think or look into?
Yeah, great question. So diversification as it relates to investment, diversification is our only safety, that we're diversified and not too heavy in one area or the other. As it relates to low income affordable housing, it's a great diversification because I can speak for Proactive, and I can't speak for all, because so many providers are, they claim to be affordable, and Chris, you can speak to this as well, and 10% or 5% or 3% are only, max I've seen is like 15% of portfolios affordable. For Proactive, we invest in NOAA housing, which we aren't affected by, interest rate risks, other factors, downturns in the economy. Like during COVID, we had 100% rent collection. So diversification in the NOAA properties, as Chris said, when managed properly, operated right, can produce a lot of great diversification. And especially for us, and Chris can speak to this as well, we have our retail dealer's license that we bring homes in. So imagine, we bring homes in at 50, 60% discount to what they cost, and we're able to pass that cost savings benefit onto our residents as an impact company, and also really hit it out the park for our investors who want to diversify. Chris?
Yeah, the great thing is we're on the edge of a tsunami of demand, with late household formations by millennials and Gen Zs, all of those, and the average age of first-time home buyers being 38 now. It's older, but they're getting impatient. And this tsunami of demand is going to be there. Diversification is always important in any portfolio. And this tsunami of demand is going to reinforce that. And over the next 2 decades, the affordable housing space is going to explode. And it's going to explode in whatever area that you want to think about: apartments, multifamily, single family, and factory-built housing plays a role in all of those.
Yes.
And if your portfolio does not contain affordable housing or factory-built housing interests, then you're going to miss probably a demand wave that's bigger than the boomers ever will. And you need to be diversified to make sure you balance your portfolio with this demand, yielding the same yield as your other investments, and it's going to be sustainable for a couple decades, maybe longer. So that's the exciting part for me as an investor.
Yeah, that's really exciting. One more question here, and again, we were just sourcing these from your DMs this week, Dr. Van. But we have Mary Ann. She's from Southern California. Her family's associated with the family office, And what she's trying to drive in the direction is specifically the impact. Their family office does very well with yields, with investments and whatnot, but there's not that impact piece. And her question for you, Dr. Van, and I'll follow up with you as well, Chris, is do you guys have a personal story of impact over your decades of plus experience of either a family that you've helped or maybe a single mother or something along those lines that you were able to personally help due to, turning around these parks and helping in the industry? She's just curious.
Yes. First, quick story comes to mind. First case study is Miss Fred Alicia Porterfield, who gave permission for us to use her name, and it's in our deck. We have our videos, and this was part of our before we even finished the park in Orangeburg, South Carolina. We went into this property. It was dilapidated. Code enforcement, 6 weeks from being condemned. And when we went in, there were several residents who were like 3 years, I'm not exaggerating here, who were 3 years or more behind in rent. She was one of them. And at that time, we had an office manager who, she only lasted with us about 3 or 4 weeks, who was like, oh, we need to evict this lady. And I says, no. And so Ms. Porterfield came in office. We had a quick conversation. Very polite and dignified. And I said, well, Miss Porterfield, she says, well, Mr. Williams, I'm in school and, I got behind. And I says, if I may ask, what are you in school for? She says she was in school she was an LPN, licensed practical nurse. She was going to get her RN license to do some public health nursing. And I says, well, if it's okay with you, can you bring me your transcript? Just, provide some documentation. We give stories all the time. She comes back to the office in about 10, 12 minutes, produces her transcripts. We take her balance and cut it by 75%. And then we also lower her monthly payment. Follow up in one of our other videos where we followed up as, on our impact and for our impact reporting. And I'm giving you a short version here for sake of time. She's now a public health nurse. She runs 2 clinics in Orangeburg, which is a high partner. So what's really important about this case study is Orangeburg is, Orangeburg has a lot of wealth as the second largest county, in South Carolina. However, as you know, those areas, it has a high degree of poverty as well. So she works in public health. She's able to serve a lot of people. She is still in her home today, thriving. We sold that community. We don't typically sell, but we sold that community to publicly traded UMH, which is a social impact affordable housing REIT that has kept up the work that we began there as proactive, kept prices affordable and low. She's still in her house. She's thriving. Her kids are doing well. She has one kid that just entered college. I saw her not too long ago when I went back to Orangeburg because by chance, we just happened to own 6 homes in the UMH community. And so she still lives there. She stopped me and just told me how thankful she was. Another part of our impact case study is that, we have our certifications. We're a signatory of PRI, Principles for Responsible Investing, Morningstar Sustainalytics. We have our Sustainalytics report for affordable housing, Impact Evaluation Lab, and Blue Mark. And if we have just a little time left, Chris, would you like to share something real quick as it relates to that impact?
Yeah, it's interesting how emotional buyers get in purchasing their first home. The first house that I physically sold was late at night, first week of December. People didn't realize that they could use the land that they owned as down payment. They came into the store. I was only one at the store. It was dark, and we toured a couple of homes. I explained to them that they could use their deed as down payment. This changed their life, took them into a home. I asked the female, that was a whole family, husband, wife, 2 kids, and I asked the female, where would you put your Christmas tree? And in those days, we could deliver, set that home in a couple of weeks. And she said, she looked around and she said, well, I'd put my tree right there. And as soon as she said that, she was living in that house. And so many times at closing, and Dr. Van, you can kind of appreciate this because of the work you do. So many times at closing, this may be the first home that family has ever purchased and owned for generations. And when they break down and cry when they sign the closing papers that they own their own home, that's the emotional indicator that you're doing something right. And just like Dr. Van talked about the success story with the RN, home ownership changes the lives of so many people, and you see that in such a variety of ways, not only in where they go, not only in what the kids accomplish, not only in the housing security and performance of the children in school, performance of kids in life, and it's truly home ownership is a life-changing experience, and something that far too many families have not experienced or don't get the opportunity to experience. So it's emotionally moving, but it's also taking a class of people, part of our society, and allowing them participating in the real estate appreciation marketplace. So it's rewarding in so many different ways. And Dr. Van, the communities he purchases, that he gets involved with, could go in a lot of different directions. They could sell the land to a Walmart or to some other land developer and do away with housing. And Dr. Van is unique in not only transitioning communities into thriving communities, but also providing housing to people that in another situation, another thought of land use, they could be basically pushed out or just removed. And Dr. Van does the opposite. He makes home ownership still a reality and housing security a reality. So I'm sorry I talked a little bit too long there, but I wanted to say that Dr. Van's challenging the stereotype of investment. He's getting return, same return as other developers, other builders, other community groups, but he's doing it with compassion and looks to the residents and trying to maintain that residency and quality of housing and community for those residents as well. So I applaud Dr. Van, and that's what makes his concept, his profile so much different than others.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I can't thank both of you gentlemen enough for taking, 45 minutes out of your day today to come on and talk through this. We're going to cut up this interview. We're going to send it out. We're going to email it. It's going to get posted across all of our platforms. Real quick, Chris, people out there who want to connect with you, learn more about manufacturedhomes.com, do business with you, what's the best way to reach and get a hold of you, just for the people listening?
Yeah, it's real simple. Chris at manufacturedhomes.com. Send me an email. I'll get back to you, and I'll try to either point you in the right direction or give an answer, in my opinion, to any questions you might have.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And Dr. Van, again, just for the audience out there, best way to get a hold of you to learn more about your guys' fund and how they can invest and stuff like that. What's the best way?
Yes, real simple. Invest at sustainablebonds.com or 1-800-626-2089. Again, the number is 1-800-626-2089 or sustainablebonds.com.
Awesome. I can't thank you gentlemen enough again today for coming on. The audience got, I think, 50 plus years or close to 60 years worth of experience on today. Really, really impressive. Chris, your knowledge is incredible. Dr. Van, just your experience and what you've been able to do to help so many hundreds and even thousands of people out there is amazing. So I can't thank you both enough for coming on. Again, for everybody out there watching, we'll be sending out this recording through our email list, posting it across our social media platforms. And look forward to next Friday and connecting again. Awesome. Thank you again, and have a great Friday.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you. Happy Friday. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Chris. I appreciate you very much, and your leadership and your mentorship most of all.
My pleasure, buddy.